just begun the restoration of my recently acquired 180D. I should probably say restoration tongue-in-cheek, because after looking at this car more closely, I decided really I don't want to restore it. I want to leave it as original as possible. I started out by looking underneath the car, and sure, it's dirty and there's a little bit of surface rust, but I thought how unique just to leave this car as close to the way it is right now after having driven over 50 years. So I had to begin this project by getting the car up in the air on jack stands and pressure washing completely underneath the car, around the engine compartment, transmission, rear end, trying not to damage any of the braided or rubber parts. And after pressure washing it, I brought it in here onto the lift and decided how am I going to make this underside of the car look original and at the same time try to preserve it. So I decided to use phosphoric acid, and after experimenting with a couple of different applicators, I decided phosphoric acid in steel wool was the best way to clean that surface rust, stabilize it, and still make the car look like it's untouched. I decided I did not want to repaint underneath here. Originally, if you look at all these scenes of the car, you say, well, why don't you just take and paint the whole thing black? Well, then the car looks restored and it loses some of that original patina. So after a number of hours of scrubbing and cleaning and scrubbing again, this is the final product. I should mention there are a couple things I painted under the car. One was the rusty exhaust pipe. It was really in bad shape. So I went ahead and cleaned it and painted it with Miracle Paint. I didn't think that would affect the originality that much. The other thing were the steel wheels themselves. They had a lot of scratches and some dulling on the paint. So I went ahead and sanded those and painted those gloss black. I'm going to take the car up now high into the air so I can get underneath and show you what we actually did on the bottom side of the car. The bottom of the gas tank here will give you a pretty good idea what I've been talking about. Note the original black paint is still basically intact. There was a little bit of surface rust starting to come through, but once again I used a little phosphoric acid to stabilize that. And then look over here at the wheel well. That is the original. It's kind of a brownish gray factory color. You can see some of the paint has started to peel off and some light surface rusting here, but that is an amazing example of a car that's been well preserved for 50 years. Now we'll move forward and you can look at the belly pan. Look at how clean that belly pan is. And then we'll move up to the side there and I'll shoot underneath the rocker panels so you can see how rust-free that area is. That's one of the most common rust areas on a ponton. And then finally, looking in the wheel wells, they're dirty and there's no rust in them, so I'm just going to leave them alone. Well, what do you think? The condition of this car. Are you as impressed as I am at how easy it was to restore the underside of this 180D? I wish every car I've ever worked on in my life was like this one. In fact, I don't think I'll buy any more rusty cars in the future. Now that I've completed phase one, I'm going to go ahead in the next video and move on to brakes, suspension, transmission, and finally engine. So stay tuned for the next video.